This is Conversations with Ronnie Keith. Welcome back to Conversations. What? You can't hear me? Wow, I can hear myself. What about that?
There we go. Now I can hear you.
Wow. Welcome back to Conversations with
At least you know this is live and raw.
Yeah, right. I am your host, one of your hosts, Ronnie Keith, and of course, my beautiful, engaging, enlightened, wonderful, smart, disruptive.
Thank you. Disruptive. Mira caramba.
You just disrupted my intro. My beautiful wife, Iris. She's here to join
Thank you,
me
baby.
this week.
And I'm joined with my beautiful husband.
Beautiful, handsome,
Handsome,
endearing.
Bello, precioso, hermoso.
All right. Wow. There she is talking that language. Listen, I really want to thank you guys so much for supporting us and listening and downloading. Continue to download Conversations with Ronnie Keith. We drop every Friday. As you know, every other Friday will be with my wife and I. And then
Boop, boop.
on the other Fridays, of course, I have interviews and conversations. As you heard last week, we had a conversation with Ronnie Keith where I spoke with author and professor and teacher Leo Williams, and so we'll continue to have more conversations like that.
I just loved Leah's interview. I just have to put that out there. She was amazing. If she's listening to this, Leah, you are inspiring, and I really enjoyed your episode. You go, girl.
All right. Yes. So this week we're going to pick up where we left off last.
Ooh.
That was that episode 5? Yeah, episode 5, where we talked about how we were away from each other for a year. And now we have rekindled somewhat, but we didn't really get into specifics on how we rekindled because that's what this episode is for, right?
My favorite phase.
Yes. So, as you know, as we spoke about on last week's episode, if you haven't heard it, listen, you need to go back and listen to episode 5 and then episode 3. 3 and 5 is the journey of us meeting. And then episode 3, and then episode 5 is us saying, hey, we pumped the brakes and took a break and all the things that happened. And now here on episode 7, we are rekindling. And so as we left off last 2 weeks ago, we talked about how, I saw the Facebook post.
Yeah.
And so I reached out to you. And
Why did you reach out?
well, because I saw the post, and at that point,
What happened?
I was kind of over you. You know what I mean? I was over.
Gosh,
You know what
he
I
was
mean?
over me,
'Cause
but
it's
then
like
he ended up marrying me.
Hold up. Like I told you, I'm a starter. I'm not a reserve. I'm not coming
But I
off
was
the
the
bench.
exception.
But I'm still not a reserve,
I
right?
was the exception.
So you made that post on
Yeah.
Facebook that
It's pretty deep.
It's me and my son and everything. So I was at work, actually. I was on break. And at this point, we were still at the same company, but I was in Lake Mary, Florida, working.
Which is north from Orlando.
Correct. Still considered Greater Orlando.
Yeah, it's still a bit of a drive.
Yeah. And I saw the post, and I said to myself, oh, wow, okay. And then the first thought that came to me was like, oh, it really didn't work out for real this time, right? With you and your ex. And so I kind of put it down. I didn't think no more of it.
Yeah.
And then a couple of days later, something hit me. And I said, let me send her a text message to see if she's okay. Or was it an IM?
No, it was a text message.
It was a text message?
Oh,
Okay.
yeah.
So I sent you a text message and I said, hey, how are you doing?
Yeah.
And then it just picked up from there.
Yeah. And you were very encouraging. You send positive things like, you got this. I remember. I don't remember the exact words, but I know that you were very encouraging. Like, hey, I saw this. Hope you're okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
It was very nice of you.
Yeah, because I just wanted to, when you said that, I remember somewhat of the struggle that you had when you gave me that call, that time frame. And, I didn't wish bad on you, so I didn't want to see you like that. So I was trying to be encouraging, and then we started talking on the phone, and,
It was nice.
It was nice. It was really nice. And I don't even remember, like, the first time we actually reconnected. Do you remember? Like
saw each other in person?
Yeah.
Oh,
I don't remember.
Gosh, I don't think neither.
Yeah.
I think that we were just talking and we decided to just link up one day.
Yeah. Yeah. I
believe that's how we did it.
Yeah. So it was slow, right?
Very slow. Very
slow.
reserved.
So I was like, listen, man.
He was protecting his heart.
I'm not about to go through this again because, you know what I'm saying? I start, what's the word? I want to say start really engaging with her and opening myself up with her. And then boom, this cat comes back and he's like, okay, I'm really going to change this time. That happened once before. What's the saying? Fool me once, shame on me. No, shame on you, or whatever it is. Like,
oh God,
fool me once, don't fool
Who
me
cares
again.
about
as
Bush?
he said.
Screw that man.
Anyways, so I didn't want it to happen again, and I was just being very cautious with you. So I really was like taking my time. Like I think it took me, when we started back talking,
It was very slow.
Yeah, I didn't see
Which
you
I
in
was okay
person
with.
for a long time.
Yeah, I think so too. Now that I think about it, and I'm sitting here really, really thinking about it, I think it took us some time. It was very friendly, like a lot of conversations on the phone, a lot of text messages, but I don't think that we met each other in person for a really long time.
Right, absolutely.
And I could sense that too. I could sense that you were protecting your heart. And
Yes.
I was okay with that because I was okay with the fact of taking things slow. I was okay with that.
Yeah. And then I remember I had picked you up for Thanksgiving.
Oh,
And
yeah.
I took you to your
remember
mom's
that.
friend's house.
Yeah.
I didn't go this time, though.
Yeah.
But I want to say it was Christmas time. I think I went with you over there.
Yes, you did.
Yeah, I went with you over there. So at this time we were dating, we were dating. And then it was
Did you even say, hey, do you want to be my...
I don't think so. I think it just,
happened.
Yeah, I think it just happened. Like, I didn't sit there and say, hey, Mark
I just
X,
thought about that.
let me slide of this paper as Mark X or no. You want to be... No, but
I'm still waiting for that.
Oh, wow. I think you already had that. And but yeah, so that happened. And then I remember you and I having a conversation about, like, places to go and things to do and things like that. And I was like, well, before that happened, while we were dating, one day I said, hey, let's take a trip over to
St. Augustine.
No, Coco.
Coco. Oh, yeah, I remember that. That was
Cocoa
first.
Beach.
That was like a day trip.
So we went over there, and for some reason, you got a little happy with the wine. And earlier that day, I remember you told me at work you went to the cafeteria and you got a sandwich.
Oh, my God.
And I was like, oh, okay, what did you get? And you told me, oh, I got this turkey with cranberry mayo on it. And I said, I'm sorry, what?
And soy milk. I don't know what I was
And then
thinking.
you had chocolate soy milk. I said, and I remember telling you,
hungry.
I said, man, your stomach going to be toe up. And you said,
I hate you.
I'm going to be fine. I said, okay. So then we went to Coco. We had a good time. We went over there.
It was
stayed the
nice.
whole
We went
day.
like crab hunting. No. Crab picking. I forgot what it was.
No, we didn't do that. That was in the very beginning when we very first started talking.
Are
we
you
went over
sure?
there. Yeah, yeah. This was totally different. We went over there and we didn't do anything. So,
Oh, okay. So we just drove, I think.
yeah, we just drove.
Looked around.
Yeah.
May stopped
Absolutely.
a couple places or so. Okay.
Yep. So when we came back, I'll never forget, we were just sitting there on the couch and I looked at you and you started turning green like the Incredible Hulk. And I had never seen anybody in my life in person turn colors.
Yeah.
I had never seen it before.
That was embarrassing,
you
ladies and
literally
gentlemen.
turned green. Like your face was green. And I said, hey, are you okay?
And I was trying to play it off really cool,
Yeah,
really cute.
I'm fine.
I'm fine. What are you talking about? Shoo.
And I'm like,
I got this.
You green looking. And I said, are you sure you're okay? Yeah, I'm fine. And then like maybe 10 seconds later, you said, I'm going to go to the restroom. And I said, okay. And as soon as you opened up, you couldn't even close the door. All I heard was, bah!
That had to be the biggest barf ever.
And I've never shared this with you.
Uh-oh.
So I'm going to share this with you for the first time ever.
Tell me.
Because you've asked this question millions of times and I've never given you an answer. And now here's the perfect
Is it the
time.
question I've been wanting you to answer?
Yes. You wanted to know, when did I know I was in love with you?
Oh, God.
At that very moment, as I look back, I knew then I was in love with you. You know why? Because there's no way in the world I would have stayed with any other woman after she done threw up all over the place. And not only threw up all over the place, but go and clean up the throw up.
Yeah, I was so... What is it? Very tipsy. I wasn't drunk, I would say.
You were tipsy, but then you also had that sandwich with cranberry mayo.
Oh, I was so sick.
And chocolate soy milk. And so I got you. I had you clean yourself up. And then I went in the bathroom and cleaned up all this nasty ass puke that I would normally not do.
Oh, baby.
And I just was like, wow, I'm doing this? So
I don't remember you cleaning it up.
I did.
I do remember you putting me into bed. You were like, here, just continue to take water. Let's get you up. And every so often you would get me up to walk around. Here, take some water. Like, you really took care of me.
yeah, I had to clean you up.
Yeah, because I was so out of it.
Yeah, so
and I'll explain why I was so out of it.
Yeah, so I had cleaned you up, and then I then went and cleaned up the bathroom. I found out where the stuff was and just cleaned that up, and I had to make sure you were
Thank
fine.
you, baby.
So then fast forward.
And thank you for answering the question I've been wanting.
Of course. So fast forward like maybe a month or so, we went to St. Augustine. That was our first trip that we went together. I had never been on a trip with you, didn't even think about that. But I was like, you know what? Where would you like to go? And he was like, you said St. Augustine, if I remember.
Yeah, out of nowhere.
So we went over there and had a beautiful, wonderful time. We actually still
it
have the
was
pictures
so
up
nice.
on Facebook
Yeah.
that we were taking
I have a
everywhere.
couple of them framed.
Yeah. So we had a good time there.
It was wonderful.
Everything just really, Isaac and I had a great relationship. He was, every time I come over or we'd be around each other, he would climb all over me like I was a little obstacle course.
Keith is my best friend.
Yes. And you had met my family, of course, by that time. And all those things, it just seemed like everything had really started to play out the way. And it was different this time. It was different than the first time, because the first time, not saying that it wasn't so deep. This time it was really, really deep. You know what I'm saying? So how did that time frame look for you?
I would say exactly the same. I think that our last episode ended when I had mentioned that he had sat me down and told me that he was on a relationship with, the person that I had made Isaac's godparent and all that good stuff. Little did he no. When he broke that news down to me, I told him, well, I just want you to know that I have started a relationship of my own and I love this man. And I remember exactly letting him know I can't see myself without him. I love him and I'm not going to let anything come in between us. And I guess he was shocked to hear that, because at this point, if you recall, if you listen to the episodes, I was already done. We had started to part our ways. And, I was just like, no. We were on our way to St. Augustine, actually, when he broke that news. And I was just like, oh, so you want to talk stories now? Well, I got one for you. So I was prepared. And I remember, going back to the story of, barfing and all that stuff. I was going through a lot of mentally challenging moment there in my life. And I was a little depressed, I would say, because you don't know a person's true colors till you actually close the book, and start moving on. They start being extremely nasty to you. And there was a lot of things that were being done to me that I did not ask for or didn't deserve, I felt like. So that kind of does something to a woman, to a mother, a single mother at that point. We had already established a relationship, but I was going through a lot. I was mentally exhausted at that point. And that's why I was just like drinking and I had, I didn't care what I was eating basically. And I was enjoying your company, but I was just very depressed in the sense of, wow, we are done, but why do you still continue to try to harm me or be so angry or mean to me where I didn't do anything to you. So that's the part that I want to be clear as to what happened and why was I drinking. And fast forward a couple months there, we decided to go on St. Augustine, and it was just such a different vibe. You were a vibe, you were a blessing. And it was just like, wow, I really like this guy. Like, I don't know what's going on here. And I remember I would talk to my so-called work friends at that time, and they would ask me, I was very reserved and I'm very private when it comes to my personal life, but they were so used to me coming to work and, being depressed and complaining. And now Iris was this new person being happy, and this wonderful gentleman would send her flowers, and it was just nice. And they would just ask me, it's like, can you see yourself without him? I was like, I don't think I can, So I remember that trip to St. Augustine, something hit me. And I guess when we were walking and through the castillo, they call it the castle, castillo, I say it in Spanish. I forgot what's the name of the castle, but it's the big landmark there in St. Augustine. Castillo de San Marcos, I believe that's what it is. Okay. So we were walking around that area, and just St. Augustine is so pretty, ladies and gentlemen. And especially me, I'm such a big nerd into history. Out of nowhere, I just felt like this, I can't explain it, like this breeze and happiness. And my heart was just very full and happy, And I was like, oh my God, I am in love with this man. And I just knew, I always tell people, I fell in love with you in St. Augustine. Hands down, 110%. Because I was just like, oh my God, I can't see myself without this guy. Like, I love him. I really, really loved him. So that's when it started, and we were just having a great time. And then when we were, starting our relationship and enjoying ourselves, enjoying this vibe and just a very nice sense of happiness, I remember we were in the hotel room and I received this disturbing text message trying to ruin my happy moment, where it was from, his new girl, who used to be Isaac's godparents, sending me a message through Facebook of trying to ruin my moment, saying you got played. And I remember receiving that. And my first reaction to that was, I can't believe this. He knew that I was out here with you. He knew that I broke it down to him that I was happy, already moved on, and I'm with a new person. why are you going to sit there and try to ruin my moment? You know, I haven't done anything to you. And this text message came, and it's just like, wow. So it makes sense. You know, you guys were having this affair behind my back for years, and I didn't know. And the first immediate reaction I had to that was, I was very saddened about that. Of course, I cried, and I wasn't crying because I was heartbroken over this relationship. I want to be clear with you and let you all know that I had already been moved on from this individual. However, I want to clarify that is what she did. Again, there's a girl code there. I want to be specific to that, especially when it comes from somebody that you love dearly. You consider them as a best friend. You know, you did a lot of things with them. They were like, you know, you're basically your right hand. You know, that's the part that hurt the most. And when I received that text message, it was clearly evident to me that they were seeing each other behind their backs for years. And of course, he denied it and she denied it. I had to prove a screenshot.
Well,
you
it was
know,
crazy because, you know, like
I had called him and said, hey, you need to stop the games.
Yeah, you called him and told him,
Yeah.
don't be calling me. I'm out having time with my man.
Yeah.
And, I mean, don't have your girl sending me text messages.
Like throw little daggers
like,
at me.
And he was like, what are you talking about? And so she had deleted. And after she sent you that message, I remember because you showed it to me.
Yeah.
She blocked you. She sent it, blocked you, and then deleted it. But you had already screenshot it.
Correct.
And so...
And he said, oh, she didn't do it.
And so you sent him the text message. You sent him
the evidence is right there, buddy.
You said, listen, I don't need this. I don't want this while I'm on my vacation with my man.
And going forward, I made the decision that I'm no longer going to tell him anything. I'm going to go ahead and go about my merry way with my new man, the love of my life. And I don't need to give you an explanation. Where am I going? What I'm going to do? I was done with that.
Yeah.
So that was a way of them throwing a little dagger my way to try to ruin my happy moment. And sad to say, ladies and gentlemen, the daggers still continue to this day. But I have learned to not let them ruin me, ruin my vibe, ruin my family. But they do continue to this day.
Well, it's little subtle
little things that they try to be sneaky with.
Yeah,
like,
but you know, that type of behavior came to an end. We'll get to that.
Oh yeah,
future episode of how that came to an end. But you know, at this point, we were very happy, and you know, that didn't ruin the trip.
Of course not.
And so
it was just one of those things where you see it, you react, you shed a couple of tears, you do what you do, and you get up, right back up, and you continue on.
So at this point, you know, the relationship has been established for some time, and you know, we're really moving forward and things like this. So I wanted to ask you.
Ask me.
What was the difference in being in a relationship with me as opposed to the last relationship you were in? Because we were really into it at this point. So what are some of the things, like, as far as like what you had to adjust to in the dating space at that point, what you had to adjust to, what was good, what wasn't so good at that point? Can you think back that far? Because it's a long time ago now.
No, and that's a very good question, and I would also like to hear that from you. But from my perspective, I'll tell you that the biggest difference for me is that I actually had this wonderful man that actually cared about how my day was, how I was doing. He cared about my health. You cared about, wow, your gas is almost on E, or your car is almost on empty. Let me help you out. Hey, here, you know, take this, you know, to help you with your light bill. I mean, I'm just going to share this with you. And I don't think you know this, but there was many times where, as a single mom and starting our relationship, we were getting into the weeds of it. There were a couple of times where the light company shut down on me because I was behind or I couldn't afford it. Sometimes I had to decide whether I wanted to do groceries or pay a light bill, you know, And if you ever recall, it's like, why wouldn't she let me into her house? That's because I didn't have any lights on, so I had to wait till that next paycheck and figure out a payment. But going back to your question, you actually cared for me. You cared about my well-being. You showed me what true love is. You called me. You cared for my son. That's another thing too. You really showed him not only true love, but you were this exemplar father figure to him that I can't sit here and complain, because there's nothing to complain about. So those were the differences that I've noticed, and you genuinely loved me. And when you told me I love you, you really did love me. And I was so grateful for that. And I was just like, oh my God, I've never had anyone that cared about something so simple as, how is your day? Really? You care about my day? And I would just go on and talk about, because the healthcare industry, when you work on it, is full of surprises, let's be honest. And we work with some sassy people, So I was just like, wow, you really want to know what's going on with me and all those things. And then one of the biggest things that I'm going to say here, again, this is no disrespect to the Latin culture, but just growing up around the Latin culture and seeing, my mom does treat my brother and my dad very differently. It's like they're made out to be kings and stuff like that. And females are treated differently. That's all I got to say about that. And that will be another discussion for some other time, because I'm going to be honest with you all. I didn't have the greatest relationship with my mom growing up, but it got better as I got older. But again, that's a different discussion. But what I'm trying to say is that dating a Latino person, for me, this is my opinion, they're looking for a mother. They're looking for somebody either to replace them, replace their mom, or just a mother figure. Like they want to be babied. And I remember when we first started our relationship, you were like, kind of like, yo, you don't have to be like this. Like, you don't have to sit here and serve me. You don't have to sit here and do this for me. Like, I pretty much didn't have to be this some type of slave, and you didn't expect things. Like, you were very considerate. If I was working 9 a.m. to 8 p.m. or whatever it was, 10, 11, 12-hour shifts, because I've always been very hard worker and very dedicated. You were okay with, hey, you don't have to cook today. Like, I was so worried about catering to you, because that's what Latin women do. We baby our men, and you were like, yo, you need to chill with that. My mother raised me to fend for myself. I know how to cook. I know how to clean. And I wasn't expecting that from you. So I was shocked. And to answer your questions, those were the biggest differences. And mind you, I am an open book. And when I was in my dating period, I dated all kinds of men, Black, Latino, white, whatever it was. But I've noticed that with Black men, it's a little bit different, because you all, majority of you guys were raised by single mothers or by strong-minded women like you were. And you guys fend for yourself. You know what to do for yourself. You know how to cook. You know how to clean. You are not going to sit there and expect me to do all these things for you. And don't get me wrong. I want to be clear and say that I don't mind serving my husband and doing all these things for you and catering to you when I can. But that was the biggest difference when it came to the cultural aspect of that, if that makes sense. So that was new to me, because I clearly remember when you sat me down, you were like, Iris, stop, like, you don't have to do all this. You're trying too hard. Yes. And, I wasn't putting up this facade, this is just who I was. And I still am like this to this day, but those were the big differences for me. And again, I know everybody has their opinion. I know about Latino men and Black men. But all I have to say is that I'm a very happily married woman after many years with a Black man. And I will never look back. That's all I got to say about that.
Well, the thing is, like you said, the adjustments was, you were in overkill mode, right? So, I've dated women, and, to be clear, 95% of the women that I dated were black women.
Yes.
And then, the little 5% was Latin women, but they were, they weren't pale like you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But they were still, you're all Latino. So
I'm very light skinned for
Yeah.
Puerto Rican. Yes.
Right. But there was never, you know what I'm saying? I was used to being taken care of, and, it was reciprocated on my end too with the women that I dated. But it was like when I met you, it was just like overkill,
Yeah.
overdrive.
'Cause that's what I was used to.
And it was like, you would be like, hey, so I'm going to be heading home and cooking. And I'm like, bruh, you've been at work like since 8:00 this morning, and it's now 8:00 at night. What do you mean you're going to cook? And he's like, no, I'm going to cook. You come over and eat. I said, no. I said, what are you doing? I said, you don't need to go home and cook. I said, either I can cook something, or or sometimes we were both at work late. I said, I'll just grab something for us. I said, you don't need to be cooking. And so,
and I was still trying to are you sure? I could put something really quick on.
Yeah,
it doesn't take me long.
And so then, even then, I'll bring something and
are you sure?
Yeah. And I'm like, well, I would go, let's say I just go wash my hands in the bathroom, come out, you're already getting it with clockwork, and you hadn't even really taken your clothes off to get yourself comfortable, and you'll be starting to I say, hold up, what you doing? And you're like, well, I'm about to start setting it. I said, listen, go
Such
get
a
yourself
hard adjustment.
Get yourself comfortable. I don't mind you putting the stuff together to serve or whatever. I said, I don't mind that. However, that's not necessary. We both work. We both worked a long day. We both can, at this point, I'm coming to your house to bring the food. You go and get your stuff, sit yourself down, and I could put whatever we have out for us, and you come sit down and eat. That's no big deal. And so I had to, like you said, I had to sit down and talk to you, and I told you, I said, listen, I appreciate what you do. I appreciate that you want to take care of me. And I told you, I said, don't get this twisted. I don't want that to stop, right? I want you to.
But it was too much.
It's too much. I said, you don't need to do this. I said, you're almost treating me like I'm a child, like I'm Isaac.
Yes.
I said, I'm not Isaac.
That's a great thing that you said that. That's exactly what it is. Yeah. Again, Latino men are looking for a mother.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's what you...
This is my opinion.
Right, and that's what you were, I guess, accustomed to with your previous relationship.
Because I still see my mom do the same exact thing to my dad. He doesn't serve himself at all,
And
that's okay. Works, and that I'm not saying that I don't serve for my husband audience. I'm not trying to say that, but my mom does everything.
Right. And so I told you that. I said, I'm not Isaac. I think Isaac was 4 or 5 at that time when I talked to you.
4, I think 4 years old.
Yeah. I said, I'm not Isaac. I'm a grown man. I said, and 2, what you have to understand is that pretty much everything you can do in the house, my mom taught me how to do.
Oh, yeah.
I said, so you don't need, I said, I appreciate you doing this, and I love when you do it, but it's a little bit overkill. And it was really overkill. Mm-hmm. It was just you weren't giving yourself a chance to breathe. As soon as you walked through the door, you had to immediately start trying to cater. And I'm like, bruh, go get comfortable. Go get undressed. Go take a shower. Whatever the hell you need to do, go do that, because this is not what you need to be doing right now. And so that took a little time.
I hope that answered your question.
Yeah, it did. Yeah. And it took a little time for you to adjust with that, because I remember there were times where I was sometimes I get highly annoyed because it was like you were handicapping me. And I'm just like, look, I can do this.
And I remember explaining to you, you got to understand, this is how Latino, the culture is. And women are supposed to pretty much bow down to their men. Which is very sad. And now that I look back at it, and I'm just like, wow. I remember there was a lot of times where I would look at my mom, and I don't want to get off on a tangent here, but And I would be like, my God, I don't want to be like that.
Right.
But, it's embedded in us.
Right.
So, but yeah, those were the differences. And in just going back to what you showed me in the relationship, you actually cared about me. Like, you actually cared about my well-being, my health, what I was up to. We love spending time with each other. It was okay if you were watching football and I was on my computer. To this day, we are like that.
Yeah.
Oh, it's okay. You could watch TV.
Right.
And Lord knows, a lot of the girly shows that I would watch, you would get into them. Even the Spanish soap operas, you would get into them.
Yeah.
So it's just, we had a healthy balance. And that is very hard to find in many relationships out there.
Yeah.
And a lot of the, guys that I did date between that period that I was a complete single mom, it's just, it was hard to find that. And they really didn't care. They didn't show interest. Okay, I'll talk to you later, but, peace out, type deals. Mm-hmm. So that was very new to me.
Yeah, absolutely. And, what I really appreciated about you is that you really, really, really took care of me, health-wise. At that time, we had my granny down here.
Yeah, I remember.
And she had been diagnosed with an illness. And so when we first started dating, it wasn't at the point where her time was limited. We didn't know at that time, but we had her because, she was still going through and getting treatment, and she was getting treatment here because both her daughters, my mom and my aunt, lived here. And you were so understanding and loving with her, in our relationship. I never got the sense that you felt like, I was paying more attention to her than you or anything like that. You took up time with her.
Absolutely.
You spent time with her. She really...
I talked to her.
Really, really loved you. And, again, this was just the beginning. She was with us, I think, another 3 years till she passed away while you and I were in a relationship.
I think it was before our our wedding.
Yeah, it was right. She passed the
Couple
year
months
that
before?
No, she actually passed
A year?
13.
Okay.
And we got engaged in 13 and then married in 14. So, but, I really appreciated that and how, you just really, I talked about the catering thing, but, you really catered to me and you really, really, really loved me, and I felt that. It wasn't transactional. It wasn't, oh, well, I'll love him. You know how you were saying earlier, these things and my mouth was dropped because I didn't know. There was some times when I would come over, you'd meet me right at the door and say, okay, let's go. And I'm like,
yeah,
well,
I didn't want you to see.
And I didn't know. And then, but it was never transactional. You never even told me, oh, I didn't have gas or you was on E. You never did
Correct,
that. And I never really rode with you because, you Puerto Rican. I don't trust you driving. So, you know what I'm saying? It wasn't like I knew that you were on E. I
do drive a little crazy.
Hand this to you. Or I would say, here,
you would take care of me.
For some groceries or stuff like that. It wasn't transactional. You know what I'm saying? And so I appreciated that. And, the whole point of it is that we started off as real good friends.
Yeah.
So we got to know each other on that level. It wasn't immediately a physical romantic relationship. It was us getting to know each other as people, just conversations at work.
Absolutely. And I was very protective of my son too.
Right.
I think as a single mother, when you start a relationship and start developing, and you need to protect your children. And I don't see that a lot. I don't see that in our Latin community. I don't see that in the Black community neither. And sometimes in the white community, just in general, I don't see that women have the tendency to protect their children. And you have to protect them because you don't want to be jumping around men to relationship to relationship. You know what I mean? And you were okay with that. You were okay taking things very slow. And I think that was the best part.
Yeah, absolutely. So, this was us rekindling. We really had a great relationship that first year back. We went out of town and everything like that. And so things really started taking off. And so I want to jump when we come back for the next episode to discuss the year, and we just talked about it, the year that my granny passed away.
Yeah.
That was a very tough year, not just from the sense of her passing away, but me and you kind of, I won't say we had a challenge, but you had a challenge because you had to deal with me in a way that you had never seen me before.
Right.
And I had a complete mental breakdown.
Yeah, that was tough.
So when we come back, we'll talk about that and then how it started off rough and rocky with, the transition of my granny, but how we ended the year being engaged in a surprise that you didn't see coming. And
yeah, it gets more interesting after that.
The beginning of the new year and what happened at the beginning of the new year after, we became one. So we'll pick up next episode, well, not next episode, but episode 8, I think it'll be, or no, 9, because it's episode 7, I think.
Yeah.
One of these numbers. I got it all mixed up.
I think so. I think you're right.
Yeah. So we'll pick up there. But I just want to say that I've really enjoyed going down memory lane with you on these.
I do too.
Yeah.
I do too. It makes me look back and really be not only grateful, but very blessed. If I could add to that, like an abundance of blessing, because it's I tell everyone all the time, you can't look back and regret things. You have to somehow accept that they happen and move on and just continue on. And those little situations in life that you may have had in the past make you the person that you are now. Mm-hmm. And I tell everyone all the time, I think things had to happen a certain way. And I think about, what if we didn't call things off? What if I didn't, go back to Isaac's father at that time? I don't think our relationship would have been as successful.
It may not have been.
Yeah.
Let me ask you something before we get out of here. I answered your question. I told you what irritated me. What irritated you about me in the very beginning? Like there had to be something that it's like, oh, he get on my nerve with this. What was it?
I can't think about anything. I'm serious.
Come on now. You got a long list now, but like in the very beginning.
I would say it's just you stepped in and a couple of times you were like, no, let me cook. It's like, I could cook too. That was the part that I think I was just like, well, wait a minute now. The only reason why I say that is because people preferred your flavor of food sometimes. Ladies and gentlemen, if you guys don't know, my husband and I have this huge, kind of like a silent battle when it comes to the holidays, because I feel like the family likes his food a little bit more than mine. Wow. So yeah, that's the part that irritated me. I know it's like, why would a girl complain about that? But I was like, remember, we would fight over that. Like, no, let me cook. I got it.
Yeah,
I got it.
Fight over that. That's crazy because we really didn't fight over anything like that, but that was the one thing that we would have an argument about, like once a week.
Like, come on, I got this.
We would really get mad at each other.
Mm-hmm.
Wow. Okay.
No, and then when our families got involved, wait a minute, you can't be liking his fish more than my fish, or you can't be liking his chicken more than mine. Yeah. To this day, we still fight about that. Yeah. I still think the family be like lying to me on Christmas time.
Wow. I don't say anything.
Mm-hmm. Whatever.
I think the only thing that matters is I tear your food up. I love your food. So
whatever.
Listen, guys, thank you so much for once again listening to my wife and I on this show. We'll be back in 2 weeks with our next episode, as I stated before. This has been Conversations with Iris and Ronnie Keith.
Thank you.